Hello, everyone. It's Brian back again. We're going to call this episode 0 of the Father in Training podcast. Hope everyone's having a great day and looking forward to getting this thing going. What I would like to accomplish today is just elaborating a little bit more on my precursor video about this podcast that I said was on its way. But without further ado, let's break down a few things. Hopefully you can bear with me because as I'm figuring out my dynamic, I'm going to be looking away just at some notes I've taken. I know I can put it on the screen and all that, but as of right now, I think this is the way I want to do it, but definitely just want to make sure that we stay calibrated. So without further ado, let's get into some brass tacks, shall we? First off, just revisiting what the premise is of the Father in Training podcast, and that's to chronicle my journey through fatherhood. I'm a new father. I've been a father for a little under 20 months now, or just slightly around 20 months, and it's the greatest thing and the most challenging thing that I feel I've ever done. I say that because it's one thing to have a high-powered job or to play sports at a high level or just anything in between, but it's a totally different thing to be responsible for a life. And not only is it one life, it's multiple, which we'll get into. And I thought, what better way than to remember these times and what I was thinking when they inevitably ask, and when I inevitably ask as years go on, by essentially chronicling it via podcast, via vlogging, whatever the case may be. And thus came Father in Training podcast, also known as the F.I.T podcast, which is also just something exciting in itself as I try to chronicle back into getting in shape as well. But it's all about that dad life right now. And what's my belief? So I believe that the name spawns from the fact that you truly never master fatherhood. It's one of those things where you can be great, but the goalpost constantly moves as your child grows and progresses. So should you, in order to continue to just foster their relationship and continue to keep that level of excellence that you so seek when you're going after being a parent. And I love that word training, right? So you train for your job, you train for sports, you train for just anything in life. And I felt like training for fatherhood is one of those things that happens in perpetuality that really excites me. So hopefully my kids feel that way as they continue to grow, but that's the origin of Father in Training. Also, so my goal is to build a network where fathers can come together, share stories, talk, listen to me, and we just build upon that foundation. I know I say fathers, but it's open to parents at the end of the day because there may be situations where you may have one particular family that one parent is doing the job of both, and they may want some tips and tricks, or they may just want to give a different perspective. So I'm speaking on behalf of me being a father, but definitely it's open to interpretation as far as anybody is welcome. If you have kids, if you plan on having kids, I want this to be that destination spot for you. And then also, I want you to be prepared to start throwing those fours up. What does that mean? Our slogan is fusing fathers for fellowship. And that's important. I think it's a brotherhood or a fatherhood, no pun intended, that is a badge of honor to be a part of. And oftentimes do we get some bad reps. And I just want to make sure that we got that safe space where we can work out the kinks and just, if nothing else, just motivate us to continue to want to get better even through the difficult times. So also, what are the facts? So what's going on with me? Just in case I didn't formally introduce myself in this video, my name is Brian. I like to have the alias as Big Uno. That'll make sense later. But I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. And for the past, I guess it's been a decade now that I've been moving west, and now I'm in California, where I currently reside, where my family was born, even though they're Texan through and through. They'll learn that um, here soon. But my family was born in California. I met my kid's mother here in California, and yeah, just out here West Coasting it. But trust me, diehard Texan through and through. Go Cowboys, go Mavericks, go Rangers, go Stars, you name it. Also, so kids, how many kids do I have? Like to say that I have 4 kids, and we'll go into that a little further as we chronicle in this podcast. But of the 4, the breakdown that I would like to say it is I have 3 weddings to pay for and 1 wedding to attend. So that'll give you an idea if you understand like the traditional sense of how weddings and different things are supposed to be. I have 3 weddings to pay for and 1 wedding to attend. So that gives you a little bell ringer, or a little mind game on what the breakdown are of the kids. And they range from 18 all the way down to 10 months. So quite the gamut there. Let's see. Why now? Why not? This is I'm a pretty motivated person, I would like to think. I feel like I'm a visionary. I have big ideas, but I've always needed that creative person to execute those ideas. But there's been so many entrepreneurial opportunities I've had. Some I capitalize on, some cause for different things like this. And instead of waiting, wondering what's taking so long or why hadn't it happened, I just decided to get out there and make it happen. And with that being said, this is going to be a little choppy. Some of the glitz and glam that you may become accustomed to may not be up to par initially. I guarantee it's not from a lack of trying, but I want you to remember also this podcast, this video vlog setup is from a perspective of a present father, a father that likes to think that, he's learning what his part is and trying to grow on that every day. So I'm not sitting up 12, 15 hours, whatever the case is, just, prepping content of things that aren't actually happening. This is like my real life. And obviously I'm going to give you content, but the content may be raw, which that's parenting. There may be some cameos where you see how real it is, where the kids are screaming in the background and we're still doing it because, hey, that happens. I envy those people where the kids go to bed and then they can put together, pristine content every time. And, that's the goal. I'm not going to act like I wouldn't want that. Then I also want you all to understand that vulnerability, that training piece is when you see where it's not so great. I set up a studio in my closet. So I really like this. I was joking earlier. I was telling my lady that this is the one room in the house that I don't think she can take from me. And I think she took that as a challenge. So hopefully she doesn't take it from me. You all will eventually get to hear from her and get some exciting things from a mother's perspective. So that's exciting. Ladies, if you are stumbling across this video, if your significant other shows this to you, there will be plenty of perspectives from a mother standpoint. So I got some segments that I'm super excited to talk to you all about here in a little bit. But yeah, I should have did this from the early onset of my kids being born, but things were happening and they were very severe. And even though I have those personal memories, I wanted to get in a situation where I have something where with, my lady's permission, right? That I just put it out there. Because at the end of the day, I want to touch millions and billions or whatever the largest number of people is with this thing, grow it beyond my wildest dreams. But it's already a success if my kids can hit play and see back, in X year or X day, you know, where they were per us as parents describing it and how they can see us interacting and maybe our thought processes. So that right there is a victory in itself. So super excited about that. But this is one of those things where it's like you either needed to do you know what or get off the pot. And I just chose to say, hey, we're going to figure it out. I got a lot of different things that I can set up with, but for some reason, I'm going with this setup right now. We'll see how it goes, but I'm comfortable with this. I feel good about it. I brought in a couch in my closet. I got some lighting, got my mic, different things. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. So that's the why now. Also, let's see. Yeah, going back to the equipment, I've had podcasting, video recording equipment for about half a decade. I started something with my best friend, but life. I used to travel quite a bit for work. No excuses. I way more time then than I do now from a discretionary time standpoint. But I'm here now. I'm going to use all this equipment. I got challenged actually. So shout out to the people who get motivated when people don't think they'll do something. I'm definitely one of those people, that Leo energy. So yeah, just excited, and we're here to stay, and we're only going to get bigger and better as we go on. Let's see, what else? So, fatherhood to me, if I can describe it for you, I'll describe it as a glorious mess, right? It's quite the juxtaposition, something that I always thought I would be, but in my mind, I thought I was just going to ace every test. But again, there wouldn't be any training, and there wouldn't be Father in Training podcast if I was crushing everything, right? Who wants to see that? But it's unbelievable. I wouldn't change it for the world. But the messy side is where I see the areas of opportunity where I can do better, see the areas of opportunity where others can do better, where my kids can do better. And it's how do you have those crucial conversations where you're coaching and developing, but also being respectful of the relationships, be it peer to peer, child to peer, you name it. And that's where it becomes a mess, because sometimes the weight of the world or however that day is going, you can come in real hot. I know I can. I'll be, the first to tell you that, I come in with some heat, and I'm trying to get better. I feel like I have gotten better, but again, it's just that continuous improvement that we're after. So a glorious mess, right? And I mean that with the utmost honor that it can be, right? And I think within the mess is where you truly find your character and how things are and how you're going to persevere, and maybe how your style as a father and a parent is going to be moving forward. So that's how I describe fatherhood right now as a new father coming into this deal. Okay. So again, this is a space that I really see some big things happening. I would love to get different perspectives, get medical professionals on here, get dietitians, different things like that. That's going to fall into one particular segment more than anything that we'll talk about here in the future. But again, a lot of this, you're going to hear me talking and chronicling, just talking about, my highs and lows. Not much what you should do or different things. It's more like one of those either laugh at my pain or cheer at my sorrow, right? It's one of those things where I am committed to my family, and they've given me the opportunity to display us to a certain extent, a certain extent on social media. And here we are. So really excited about that, and really looking forward to make some changes. I can see us having some meet and greets as this thing grows, just having some special guest hosts, different things like that. Just really just being that platform where fathers and parents alike can come on and truly unpack some things. I'm always open to new segments again as conversation happens, as I see comments and different things like that. That's going to spark some things. but there are going to be some core essentials that I want to try to put in every episode moving forward. So, and I'm calling this episode 0, as I mentioned. So this isn't quite 1. This is more just the origin of the podcast itself, me as a person, high level overview, me as a father, high level overview, the fact that I actually have kids, right? And I'm not just, prepping for them. They're here, right? Alive and well, thank God. So one of the things about fatherhood that I think helped from a mental standpoint is I played sports at a fairly high level, obviously not professionally, but had the opportunity to play in college, and the discipline that you get playing sports is second to none. I didn't grow up with my father. We have an unbelievable relationship now, but growing up during those impressionable years where I really could have used them, right, wrong, or indifferent, he wasn't there, but I was able to turn to, the guidance of football coaches, having played for a major program in high school and then a decent program in college. You really got that structure to help you build that mental toughness and that stick-with-itness. So that was one of the things that just throughout adversity and life helped me. And then you transition to fatherhood. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the fact that you're being responsible for a life changes the dynamic, but definitely I pull from some of those moments where I gained the strength from just playing organized sports, the mental toughness, that team ethic, that ability to be able to communicate, try to anticipate things before they happen, and then just be ready to do everything 100% full speed without fail. And my motto, right? Throw the fours up, hold the fours up, however you want to say it. I know you've heard it before, especially if you play sports, but that's where that comes in handy, because when you see that, that typically represents it's time to dig deeper and go to that next level and close this thing out. But in the sense of Fit Podcast, when I say hold your fours up, that represents that fusing fathers for fellowship. And I want that to be etched into your brain, right? Fusing fathers for fellowship. We have to come together. We have to support one another in fellowship. And then we have to remember that we are the backbones of our families. And we got to continue to represent that and take that to new heights. So hold those, don't forget about that. Some other things about early childhood. Grew up in a very faith-based home, so my faith is very important to me. I'm human, but I get after a little bit. That's another thing, I guess the other side of sports. A lot of sports, either the coaches or a lot of the players around, like they talk like sailor, right? Shout out to all the sailors out there. And if you're that exception, way to be that change agent that your industry needs. But again, faith helped me quite a bit as well. Faith is something that still I believe in and try to work on and incorporate into how I navigate the world and different things as well. So faith, sports, and obviously my mother, she held it down. I was a rambunctious slash mischievous slash talkative child, from what I understand. I came up in that era where you had report cards, and the report cards would always have like comments outside of the grade. So it'll be a 95 in whatever the subject is, but it'll be too talkative or uh, who knows what else. I know too talkative was on there a few times. And then fast forward all the way into now, I have a mic in front of me. I'm recording myself talking, right? So what ended up being, I don't want to say a detriment, but definitely something that teachers really didn't want at that time, could potentially be one of my greatest assets moving forward. I know professionally it's definitely helped me as far as not being afraid to public speak and just do those type of things. But hopefully now this personal endeavor that'll also pay dividends as well, because I've been public speaking, if you will, since I was a wee lad. And hopefully I'll be able to find some of those photos where I was like leading a recital or a master of ceremony at something, just doing something within my church. But yeah, who knew? So exciting times with that piece as well. The desire to have kids. I always wanted kids. I think every man who wants kids probably wants at least one son to keep their family name going. So I'm fortunate enough to have checked that box. And again, that's where the alias Big Uno comes from, because I named my son the second, aka Dose. I love you, son, when you see this, but I also love all your sisters. So, but yeah, if I could, I always wanted a little girl as well, but I also wanted basketball starting five worth of boys to protect her. Or who knows, some women in my family are tough, so maybe the women will be protecting the boys until they come to their own. But nevertheless, I got the best of both worlds, and I'm excited about that. I'm not done. I want some more. My lady wants some more, but obviously we got our hands full with the breakdown of how things are. So TBD on how that happens moving forward as well. Always wanted the kids. I'm grateful that I had them. Had them a little later in life than what I anticipated, but they're here nevertheless. So yay, kids. Welcome to the world. Your mom and I have vowed to try to do whatever we can in our power to make it as pleasant, but as also authentic as possible. So we're going to shield you, but we're also going to expose you just so you can understand how the world works and make sure that we try to build some well-rounded humans, right? Let's see. At the end of the day, like, if I had to sum up my ultimate goal of me as a father to my kids in one word, that's just being a bridge builder. Bridge builder would be my word. Just being able to come in, lay an outline, create a safe foundation, create a platform where their voices are heard and their ideas are brightened and their minds are challenged so they can be productive members in society. I know they're going to have all their unique personalities, and as they grow, they're going to become ever present. But at the end of the day, if I can just provide those core essentials to them, of being a bridge builder, being one of those persons who have faced what they're met, or as each generation comes, they have their own unique version of what the previous generation dealt with. So with that respect, I want to always make sure I understand that and honor that, but I also want to be able to provide a launch pad where whatever their particular endeavor is that they're after, that they feel that there was some type of infrastructure provided, or there's enough tangible knowledge where they can pull from and navigate whatever that particular circumstance is. So that's exciting. Also, let's see, hope for the future with this channel, just grow as dynamic and as large as we can. Again, I really feel good about this one. I know there's other channels out there, but I always hear comedians talk about, I don't watch other people's set before I go on stage, because I don't ever want to make it seem like I took their joke or hear something that may rattle me. And that's kind of the approach I'm taking now. I think as I grow, there'll be some other things that I may stumble upon or I may double back to. But right now, everything you're hearing are Big Uno originals, and I'm excited about that, right? It's coming from the brain trust right up here, and it's going to be coming from the brain trust of anybody who comes on the pod or who participates or whatever that case is. But right now, I'm the sole proprietor of these thoughts that are being presented to you on wax. Also, let's talk about the segments, and then we'll go for the wrap really quick. So there's a few segments that I'm super excited about that are going to be some core segments within the Fit Dad podcast, Father in Training podcast. And the first one is going to be Parenting Peyton. And we'll delve into that a little bit more. But Peyton is the name of one of our kids. That segment right there is probably going to take up a lion's share of the segments that I'm going to present to you, just because once you understand the dynamic, you'll see just how intense that particular piece can be. So that's one segment that's going to be a core segment, Parenting Peyton. Next, we have Thing 1 and Thing 2, hashtag twinning. So cats out the bag, I have some twins. Technically, I like to say I have Texas triplets, but I'll play fair. But I do have official twins, and their first birthday party, as we get closer, they're going to be Thing 1 and Thing 2. So I just like that's going to be a segment as well, Thing 1 and Thing 2, hashtag 20. And we just talk about what's going on with the twins, the differences between Peyton and them. Peyton's also a younger child of ours. We'll, again, delve into her a little bit more as we go. But the twins, man, oh man, they keep you honest right there. I think another fan favorite section may be this section that I'm going to talk about. I'm excited about this one too. I'm curious to see how it's received and how it grows. But just recapping, because I want you to hear them all. So you have Parenting Peyton so far. You have Thing 1 and Thing 2, hashtag 20. And then you have the blunder years. What are the blunder years, you say? So remember, we have a teenager, right? So things get a little dicey when you become a teenager. You start thinking you got it all figured out, and shout out to those that do, but there's still always something that a guardian, a parent, a father can teach you, and it's all about that receptiveness. So I remember back when I was a teenager, there definitely were some oh no moments, and there was definitely a lot of close call moments, and there were some okay, this is how it's supposed to be moments. But everybody has that build up before they truly start turning into the person they're supposed to be. So the blunder years, I'm excited about that one. And we have another section called the synthesis. So the fourth segment is going to be the synthesis, where we take essentially all of these segments that represent our kids and talk about how we merge them together to keep a functioning ecosystem within the household, or if anybody's out of the household, within the circle of trust, if you will. But everybody's in the household essentially, or will be coming back to the household. So that's where the synthesis is. Also, the last core segment that we have right now, and I'm excited about this one because this segment is for the adults, right? And I think this is a segment where I don't know if it's always going to happen, but for sure, it should be me, right? Since I'm the guy behind the podcast, is a segment called the wind down. And in this situation, the wind down is spelled Uhine, which when you look in the definition, the dictionary of the definition, it's to complain, it's to talk about, to voice uncertainty, different things like that. But because we are responsible adults and we are over the age of 21, also works as a homophone, where the wind down is things that we want to get off our chest, but also what type of wine we're drinking in that given time. So I think that's going to be a fun segment to end each episode with. So super excited about that. But at the end of the day, this video is getting pretty long, and I'm excited. I'm glad I'm doing this. Hopefully you all are excited. The content's going to come. Again, what are some key takeaways? This is the Father in Training podcast. This is for those who know that there's always work to be done when you're a parent, and the goal is just to get a little bit better each day, a continuous training, continuous improvement. And I love the acronym FIT, because you got to keep your mind sharp. You got to keep your body as sharp as you can, trying to get back sharp there, right? But that's the essence of Father in Training podcast. It's going to be somewhat raw because, like I said, I do have a house full of kids, do want more kids. We are a full-time employees or employers. as well. So you have that. So like I said, some things are going to be a little dicey. I'm purposely recording in my closet studio just because I like the ambiance of it. Again, as it grows, we may have a studio acoustic tour or something like that, but I'm excited about that. And like I said, the motto is throwing up those fours, and we fuse fathers for fellowship, right? You gotta say it fast. You gotta say it a few times. Fusing fathers for fellowship is the motto of this deal. But at the end of the day, I want you to continue to like. I want you to continue to subscribe. And I want you to just be on fire about whatever is getting ready to come out of this podcast. And I want you to leave your comments, good or bad, and let's just have some dialogue, because at the end of the day, I'm just a father trying to do the best that I can. And I know that's a moving target as my kids continue to get older and as we navigate through this world. But I thank you for your time, and I look forward to growing the show with you. Have a great one. Throw those fours up.